And we're live.
Hello! Welcome to FUNCAST episode 11. Coming at you. Oh my god, another GIF, another masterpiece.
Let me see, it's loading from. Oh my goodness!
It's a hockey dog.
Hockey dog.
That dog just really wants to watch the game.
He's
That's
got some
awesome.
sick flow going there.
So welcome to FUNCAST with a new and improved background. Very excited I was able to set this up.
Jets Predators on TV.
Jets, Predators.
I can't tell.
Probably.
It's moving too fast.
Oh no,
I
that
don't
looks
know.
like Jets Penguins actually.
I don't know anything about hockey. It
They
looks
were
like
similar
orange,
yellows. Don't worry about it.
Orangey, yellow, and black team. So Bumblebees versus the Jaguars.
Muscly
Those are
boys
hockey
on their ice
teams,
skates.
right?
I mean, one of the Jaguars are a football team, but there is a Florida Panthers. They're basically
go.
Jaguars.
Basically.
Basically.
The same
FUNCAST
thing.
is now exclusively about hockey and dogs that watch.
Welcome to
Exclusively
the Fun
about-
Hockey Cast.
It's exclusively about sports we don't watch.
Welcome
Talk about all the
to-
hottest cricket matches in Eastern European handball.
Old stickball.
Old
Actually, I think
stick
there was
ball.
there's actually a new cricket game out this year on Steam.
When's the Ultimate Frisbee game coming out? EA. I want that.
I want to say no, I might be thinking of lacrosse. I know there was definitely a lacrosse game on like the 360.
I want a disc golf game. Actually,
When am I gonna get Over the Line game?
over the line?
That
What's
is real big here in San Diego. It's like, imagine how they took baseball and they dumped it down to softball. Over the Line is like even softer than that. Like the whole game is somebody pitches a ball and then you're just trying to bat it over a line, and when it does, then you run some bases or something. I don't know. It's
So it's like cricket, from my
Kind of,
understanding.
yeah.
of cricket.
but it's American.
So I just found out that there is a disc golf game or a mode that's part of Tiger Woods PGA Tour 10. So on the Wii.
There are some really sweet disc golf levels in Golf Story for the Nintendo Switch.
Is there really?
Of course, it would
Yeah.
be the version of PGA Golf on the Wii. Of course, it would be.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my god. All right, so let's get down to what we played this week like we usually do. This is how we start our show. We didn't introduce ourselves because if you're watching, you know who we are. Android.
You should,
Discount,
anyway.
Burnout. But Discount, why don't you go first and tell us about Dauntless, since it seems to have had
Right,
a
yeah. So,
storied
like-
week.
So I meant to finish PoE 2. That's Pillars of Eternity 2 this week.
you'll never finish
And,
that
like,
game.
Wednesday
No.
was super nice, so I went out and did that instead, and like walked around. You know,
Mhm.
did outdoor things because it was nice. Started the garden, it was great. Thursday was like, hey, by the way, Dauntless is launching into open beta, and I was like, oh, cool, that's that PC Monster Hunter thing that I bought into the Founders Program for in August. Played for like 3 days, and was like, this is cool, can't wait till it's more, and then forgot about.
Right.
And so basically, this game has a weird story because like they announced it and was like, hey guys, it's like we're making a Monster Hunter like game on PC.
Mhm.
And that's like, holy shit, Monster Hunter on PC, yes please.
When will that ever
And then
happen,
Monster
right?
Hunter World announced it was coming out and then also coming to PC, and it just kind of like womp womp.
We still don't know when.
Yeah, still don't know when on the PC version of that. But anyway, now that it's like in open beta, and there was like a closed beta thing a while ago, so it launches, and according to I think the studio is like Phoenix Labs, and it's a bunch of like devs from like all over the place. That like, you know, there's like guys from like Blizzard and stuff. There.
Yeah, I was reading about that. There's a lot of World of Warcraft people
Yeah.
that have moved to this project.
So like, from their tweets explaining what would become of this issue, they were like, "Hey, we were planning when we launched this to have 75,000 concurrent players,
Mm-hmm.
which would put them in the top 3 games on Steam by concurrent players if this game was on Steam." For some, you know, context. So they weren't expecting the game to just basically catch fire when like 300,000 people tried to log in at once.
Mm-hmm.
And so they got that 75,000 person number by like closed beta activity and some like guesswork on like previous players coming back for open and whatever. And so they were basically like, so before you even log in, it was like you try to log into the open beta, you're 157,000th in queue, estimated wait time 60 plus minutes. That actually meant you were probably in queue for like closer to 5 to 6 hours.
Oh, jeez.
Which was like, yeah, let's just, hit queue, then go to work on Friday, and then come home and go for a walk, and then come back and play Dauntless.
Yep.
And then, so like during the week, this whole time, like this wasn't a frustrating situation, surprisingly, or at least for me, because they were super open with communication, like what the problem was and what they were doing to work on it. And they're posting updates to the situation at like 2 a.m. Pacific, like, yeah, we fixed the thing. You should now, the queues are working again. And we increased server capacity, so queues should be go faster as more people get into the game.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's crazy. Like, don't be working at 2 a.m. Don't be working shifts at a server at 2 a.m. That's crazy talk, and I'm glad you guys did it and were open about it and fixing the stuff.
I mean,
like,
it is pretty hardcore grind right at the end there too, and
yeah,
it
like
sucks
you
because
push the go button and launch, and then realize everything's literally on fire.
Yeah, I mean, it probably comes down to just a few people too that have any actual like control over it or figuring out why it's happening.
And like, it's one of those things where like, yeah, every online game has server problems, and it's never a question. It's not, the answer is never just run more servers, because like that's not the problem. The servers people live on when they're playing the game scale like infinitely. Like they even said, they called their like cloud provider and were like, yo, you need to spin up 50% more capacity for us. And they did. But when they did that, they found out that the problem was A, the login servers couldn't handle this many requests at once, and B, the matchmaking servers were just like broken. So you couldn't join the main hub world, you couldn't transition between hub and hunt and then back. It would just break and disconnect you, and then you'd have to sit in queue again. So they fixed that by like, hey, they'll save your place if you were in game. If you like disconnect, you can just relaunch it and go right into the game. Then the whole thing was like fixing matchmaking. Like they made a very good analogy, but like the login servers were like the line to a ride at a theme park. The ride was the main servers. The line was the login queue, and their bottleneck was the dude who puts you in the roller coaster cart and makes sure the belt's on so you don't fall out and die.
Yeah.
That dude's
that
the
analogy.
matchmaking server, and figuring out how to have him do the job to get 300,000 people into the servers took them like 3 days. And I think they fixed it either late Saturday night or early Sunday morning. Now Dauntless is queueless. Yeah.
And it's a beta or something, or
this is open
release,
beta.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How long is that going for?
I actually honestly have zero idea. I think it's just like it'll be open beta till it's not.
That'd be good to know, because this actually, watching your footage right now is the first time I've actually seen gameplay. I was gone all weekend when this took off, so I really like what I see, and I want to play it.
So like, what's really interesting about this is that it's a Monster Hunter game. You're going out, you're hunting monsters, and you're harvesting them for parts and building weapons to hunt better monsters. Yeah. But like, so Monster Hunter Worlds, so like this is more, or Dauntless is more like an update and a streamlining of old classic Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter World is like, let's break down everything and just take the core tenets to a new game.
Yeah.
So this one is a lot more like rigid in ways. Like, it's not a huge open gathering hub when you go fight a monster like it is in World. It's like, here's the thing, there's stuff to gather, but there's not a ton of components. Like, they stripped down that from old Monster Hunter, where it's not like there's a billion different types of herbs and bugs and ores and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
They streamlined that. They streamlined the hunting so that like early tier monsters, behemoths, to be on brand. Early tier behemoths only drop like one part.
Not Monster Hunter, it's Behemoth Slayers.
I mean, yes, your characters are called Slayers, which is pretty cool.
Oh, really? Wow. I just
yeah.
Good job, Burnout. Did you write for their game?
They should give me a job.
Apparently.
But like, yeah, so it's like the first tier of monsters only drop one thing, so you don't need to like farm them for a rare drop to upgrade a thing. Early armors don't upgrade that far. Weapons aren't like a huge tree. They're just, this is this monster's weapon. It's like a lot of things that ended up in World, but like this one feels a little more like classic Monster Hunter Generations than Monster Hunter World.
Does it still have as many gameplay styles, or is
so right now there's 5 weapons.
Oh, so there's not.
Yeah,
okay.
and then they're launching, I think, the weapon 6. I want to say they're the plan is to like put out Weapon 6 on Thursday.
And it's like
Or at least
classic
talk
Monster
about it?
Hunter, where it's just weapons. They don't have any styles or anything on top of it.
No, they don't have styles,
Right.
but like some of the weapons you can craft have like, as you go later, have like unique effects. So like I crafted an axe, and the axe in this game is it's this giant two-headed axe that plays kind of similarly to the great sword, mixed with the long sword from Monster Hunter, and that you have a huge charge attack, and that charge attack builds a meter that you then spend on a super attack that buffs your attack, right? So you want to keep that going. But like I built one that's like, hey, if you execute a perfectly charged overhead swing, you heal. So like there's stuff like that in the weapons. And then apparently when you get into like the real end game hunt stuff in the Maelstrom, and you're fighting like heroic versions of all the monsters, and there are like exotic weapons that are uniques that have like crazy effects and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of all that depth there, but it eases you into it a little better than
So
a
it sounds
Monster
like
Hunter does.
It sounds like this game has been made with a focus on endgame too, especially considering the background of the devs. Because I feel like Monster Hunter's high rank is like, I don't know, it's not. I feel like once you reach high rank, and you can sort of keep going, but it's sort of just like all these things are hard, and just do them at your own pace.
Yeah, this one definitely seems to be built in a way that it wants to ease you in, so that by the time you're fighting tough fights, you're like ready for them. You know. Like, it doesn't want you to just, like, kind of breeze through low rank, you get to high rank, and you get fucking smashed, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's more of a much more of a gradual ramp up in difficulty. Like, I fought two monsters, Hellion and Stormclaw. They kicked my ass the first time I fought them, and, like, tilted me off the face of the fucking planet. Like, it was unbelievable. It definitely felt like classic Monster Hunter, and like I disagree with that hitbox game. That probably didn't feel like it should have hit me, but okay, I'll know for next time, right? Stuff like that. I like it a lot. It's free to play. None of the monetization seems particularly gross. There's like a patron status, which like gives you XP towards reputations.
Right.
Like those reputations unlock. They're basically loot boxes, but the things in them are they're cores, or I think they're called cells. They're basically weapon gems from previous Monster Hunters.
You said the L word.
Yeah, sorry. But like, I don't know. It honestly, it just seems like, hey, here's the basic thing. It has 3 weapon gems in it. It seems basically the same as like, oh, I farmed 12 monsters and got 3 charms, you know?
Yeah.
It's like it moved the charm or weapon gem grind from post hunt to like do 5 hunts and get 5 things. Like, it doesn't seem that bad. And then there's like cosmetics, like transmog stuff.
It looks like you've been fighting this thing a long ass time.
So this fight that's showing here, Embermane, that one, he's kind of annoying to fight because he's jumping around and fucking like running all over the place.
Oh, just as I say that.
Okay. It looks like it was just shy of 20 minutes. Probably.
Yeah, that one tends to take a long time. There's a mechanic in the game that has been officially adopted a name from the community called booping, which is where during a lot of attacks normally charges, if you hit the monster in the face, you boop the snoot, they fall over. And Embermane, you need to boop the snoot because otherwise he's running around too much. So like if you hit him, he's like on the floor like yelling at you for like 20 seconds, and that fight can take 12 minutes.
Oh, it's fighting Lionels in Zelda.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything like the daggers where once something's like still, you can just offload a ton of damage?
Yes. They're called I think they're called chain blades, and they're 2 like sais on hooks, and they're the rapid attack thing. I forget what they build up, but they also have like, hey, you can just stand back and like at kind of long range, just like whip the chains out and like throw your blades out and just kind of like fucking windmill. It's cool.
So you're like Kratos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually.
I wasn't gonna say.
I really like the war pike because it's kind of like the lance and kind of like the insect glaive, and that like you've got a stab that applies the debuff.
Like the insect glaive, yeah.
You've got a twirly thing. It charges up a meter that you can turn into ammo and then shoot a fucking laser.
Yeah,
just a fucking blast of monster in the face. It's real cool.
I saw you do that a couple times in this fight.
Yeah, it's a cool game. It's free to play. But the currency, like the amount of currency you can buy, like gets you a lot because most of the stuff is cosmetics, and like the stuff you really want is like dyes to change the color of your armor, and all that's like super cheap. Like I think a 30 pack of dye, something like $10.
Mm-hmm.
And with any amount of dye, you're gonna find like 3 colors pretty quickly and just never change them. It's like, I don't know, it seems like a fun game, and now that there's no like server problems, just go download it, play it.
I think
cool.
I will.
All right, Burnout. Tell me about Sushi Strikers, because I don't know what that is.
Sushi Strikers. That's one of the games that was announced during the big Switch announcement a couple months ago, 2 months ago, whenever that happened. When the Smash announcement happened. And
right.
everybody's like, what is this? Random new IP. That's dumb. I don't care.
That's dumb.
And then they
New
released
things.
the demo this week, and I was like, sure, I'll check it out. Why not? This is one of the things they're hyping. It must be okay if they're gonna present it. I really like the game so far.
Holy cow, this cutscene.
What it is it's basically a full anime. There are full like 5 to 10 minute long anime scenes. I'm not even gonna call them cutscenes. They're anime scenes
This is gorgeous.
between some of these fights.
There's a lot of flexing happening.
It turns out that core mechanic of the gameplay is Pokemon collecting, which you know is always fun in every game. So you are a sushi striker. You've got the power to summon sushi into this world, which there is no fish in, and everybody just like loves sushi. It's the best thing ever. But the Imperial Army wants to outlaw it, so they're trying to capture all of these sushi sprites, which are like the Pokemon that you can go around and collect. And each one of them has a special power they can use during the gameplay. Now, the gameplay is like a match 3, but you've got a bunch of moving sushi tracks, like at a sushi track restaurant. The plates
Right.
Okay.
So what you're trying to do is, while the trays are all moving in opposite directions, you either use touchscreen controls, which I think the game is really built for, but I was trying to do it with a controller, and you want to connect all the plates, and you make a big combo with matching colors. And you take that stack of plates, and then you throw them at the other guy's face. And that's how you inflict damage.
Huh.
Wow.
But,
Perfect.
like, you combo together the same colored plates. The video's going to start moving into the fight right now. You combo together different colored plates to do combo damage, multiply your damage. When you build up meters with your little sushi sprite Pokemon, they have different abilities they can activate that change all the plates to the same color, so you can just do one huge stack, or turn the plates into sweets that you can eat to heal your health or something.
There is a Pokemon Bejeweled, actually, and that sounds like it behaves very similar.
I mean,
It
there's
is very
ever
similar.
since what was that game that came out on the Wii? Puzzle Quest?
Yeah, Puzzle Quest.
Yes.
There's been a lot of like pretty good like Bejeweled RPG things.
So yeah, it's a kind of a fun little puzzle battler. It's also
This battle thing looks crazy.
yeah, it gets real crazy.
God.
Like
I didn't realize it was moving that quickly.
yes,
Yeah.
and it moves faster if you hold your cursor in place. You can speed up the
Whoa.
tracks.
That's
get,
really
like,
cool.
Crazy combos.
Wait. So how do you combine them? What's the rules for combining? It has to match, or it doesn't have to match?
They have to be the matching color, and they either have to be
Oh,
touching
the plate.
or have a free path between them. You can skip over tracks somehow.
Oh.
I can't quite suss out the specifics of how you skip over tracks. I just know that I hold the cursor in the direction and it works sometimes.
And it seems like it's just like vacuuming or like
Yeah.
attaching.
Oh my god.
This thing looks cool.
So yeah, I
It
played the
does look
demo,
cool.
which, like most Nintendo game demos, is a pretty hefty slice of content, and I'm
Right.
sold. I recommend
Yeah.
it. You guys have Switches. It's free.
When does
Try
this
it.
come out for realsies?
Sometime this summer. I think it might be August or something. Don't quote me on that. I gotta double check.
It looks cool.
But yeah, like the
It looks hilarious, actually, is the
Yes.
way I want to phrase it, because that cutscene was pretty hilarious.
oh, it's going into a real anime cutscene now with the muscle captain and his muscle dudes beating
Yeah.
up you and your friend.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like, yeah, and that's just entertaining to watch
So
by
this-
itself.
Judging by the Giant Bomb Wiki, this seems like a follow-up to a game called Sushi Striker: The Way of Sushido.
That's
Wait, is
the
this-
name of this game.
Oh,
Yeah,
that is
that
the
is
name
the
of this
game.
game. Oh,
Yeah,
never
yeah.
mind. So this
I was
is
gonna say,
okay. This
yeah.
came out in Japan. Oh no, so it's coming out June 8th, and it's also apparently going to be on the 3DS. That's what threw me off.
June 8th. Okay. Yes, it
The
is
top
coming out.
listing was the top listing was the 3DS. So it was like, oh, this is a cool game to re-release, I guess.
Which,
This
if
looks like
anybody
it would be
has
good
a
on the
3DS,
3DS.
it might
Yeah.
be good there too, with a stylus doing these
And the touch,
drawing motions.
yeah, and like the bottom and top screen.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if they divide the field in half between the two screens. I can see that.
They probably do.
Yeah. This looks great. Also hilarious. So
Yeah.
do you know why the back row is like grayed out, or is it because it's their row?
The enemy has the back 3 rows, you have the front 3 rows, and you share the middle row.
Ah.
So you can actually like snake plates away from him if you're building a combo.
Oh, okay.
Huh. That seems fun and nuts and awesome.
So
yeah.
I played that demo. It's really fun. If anybody has a Switch, I recommend playing the demo. I also went to Targets and I bought myself a copy of Bayonetta 2 with Bayonetta included.
Woo! I've still never played those.
Me
They're
neither.
so good. They're
keep
they're
hearing
the
they're real good.
only they're the only games in this genre that I enjoy. Like I'm not a big like I can't get into the Gold God of War games. I've never really been able to get into Devil May Cry or like any of the weird other.
The only Devil May Cry I played was the new one that everybody hated for some reason.
But like, man, Bayonetta's got so much goddamn style, and the music is so good, and
yes,
it's so crazy.
Enjoying it so far. I got to the part where there was a 2-headed dragon, and I ripped both of its heads off with my bare hands.
And then you summoned like Link.
Oh, because it's Nintendo DLC. You can dress like Princess
Link.
Peach, Princess Daisy, Link, or Samus.
And the Samus one, she lowers the visor on the helmet when combat starts, and then raises it when it's over. And your gun attack turns into the arm cannon.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And if you're in the Link costume and you're using the sword weapon, it becomes the Master Sword. And all the halos that enemies drop, which are literally just rings from Sonic, because it's Sega. Because it's a Sega game. They all turn into rupees instead. Make the rupee pickup noise.
That's great.
Cool. All I know is I just started. I'm only about a third of the way through the game, according to chapter wise.
Mm-hmm.
Just started. Seems pretty far.
Rodin
it's like a 6-hour game, I think.
He's the coolest dude.
He's so cool. The way he just like, hey, oh, cool, you found 2 parts of this fucking magical angelic record. I'm going to go use this thing to summon a demon, kill it for you, and turn it into a new like sword or something. Or a new gun to put on your shoes.
As far as the gameplay and the port to the Switch, I hear that the first one wasn't really remastered at all. It's just running at PS3 spec. But that's still 720p, 60 frames. It looks real good on the Switch display, and it looks totally fine on the TV as well, even though it's 720. I haven't touched the second one yet, so I don't know how much better that one is.
Bayonetta 2 looks a lot. But
I heard
it's very obviously like, hey, here's more of this game in this engine, but like we refined it and it's a lot brighter and colorful. It's a good looking game.
I know the story is crazy. I'm just watching this gameplay. I don't understand.
It's exactly what I was gonna talk about too. Is I really like what I'm playing so far. I just wish I knew what was going on in the story, and I know they're going for that kind of storytelling. I just need to get to the point where
you start of the first game, your character has amnesia because she's been stuck in like a witch coma for like 1,000 years or something and doesn't know what happened.
You may suffer a case of explosive amnesia.
Like this game is crazy. There's a lot of like, like the witch time moments of like, okay, because you're in like this alternate realm, mirror realm, fighting all these angels. There's a lot of like running up walls and being chased by huge lava waves down a street in like fake Italy, and giant 2-headed dragons throwing buildings and clock towers at you that you're running down in slow motion. It's fucking rad.
Jumping up like rubble like an anime.
There's a lot of giant enemies too, which is pretty cool.
Like this game takes that like spectacle fighter DMC God of War stuff and like goes way further with it than even like God of War 3 did.
Pretty sure the first Bayonetta is the game that inspired Yahtzee to coin that term.
Yeah, spectacle fighter, because it is
because it is
it's just
crazy ass fights and scenarios. I'm enjoying it.
And like this whole time you have this like ridiculous character that is just so like confident in her sexuality that like it is literally a weapon. Like you're strutting around like a runway model and posing and like taking like like taking like selfies and like posing for an invisible camera and stuff. Like it's so good.
I haven't really
It's
played
just
with any
so
of the
ridiculous.
costumes, but I just noticed that when you're wearing the Link costume, your hair is not your clothes. And
No,
she does not get naked when she uses hair powers.
yeah, but like look at that pose when you're summoning like it's so good. It's so over the top with everything.
Oh yeah, and you can summon your hair and turn into a dragon.
Yeah, and it turns into a demon and eats stuff. It's great.
That's the only thing I know about Bayonetta. She's like a hair witch or something.
Her clothes are her hair.
Yes.
Yes, that
And
part.
her
I
hair is
remember too.
magic.
Yeah. Oh my
There's a
God.
really good
This
like
Holy
oh,
cow.
I was gonna say the Mario costumes, the Daisy and Peach ones. They turn all your heavy like summon a hair fist out of a portal attacks into like Bowser's hand, which is real good.
That's
Oh, that's cool.
And then the Bayonetta 2 one, because it launches a Wii U game, has a bunch of unlockable costumes from Sonic stuff that like Fox McCloud and other stuff.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to get through the first game because I really want to see all the stuff they did for the second game. I know they put a little bit of work in that when they ported it to the Switch, though.
Yeah, it's touched up.
improvements. Anyways, that's what I did this week.
Very cool.
So check out that kid with the dope Millennium puzzle.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh my god.
So this week I played a couple games, and one game I didn't actually play at all. But I wanted to talk about it because it's pretty
This
cool.
section is
or at
called
least I
games
think
you
it's cool.
played.
I
He's
know.
playing
but
it with his mind.
I played it with my mind and I looked into it a lot, so I felt like I was playing it. But first of all, I want to talk about Stellaris, where we played that over the weekend. So we have our bi-weekly FUN-GINEERS Stellaris game, which is really fun.
Bi-weekly.
Well, it's like it was weekly for a bit, then it was
Yeah.
bi-weekly, and then it was like monthly, and then we sort of like had some things.
Yeah, and then we finished
And,
it up in like a week and a half.
And real quick to answer what this is about is it's just a podcast where we talk about games that we played over the past week, and we also talk about various game news. And this segment is we're talking about what games we played.
Welcome to the show.
Yes, welcome to the show. But yeah, so Stellaris, we finally wrapped up our game. We reached the like fall from heaven, which is when the two giant fallen empires decide to fight each other. I was like stuck in the middle. And what was funny was when the fallen empires decide to do that, you have the choice to join one of them, join one or the other, or join neither. And if you join neither, you're lumped into a giant like alliance with everyone else that also chose neither.
Yep.
So we all agreed as human
Yeah,
players.
because we're all the players and we're like half the empires in the game by volume at that point, and just
Right. So we're just like, all right, everyone, we won't join them. We'll kill them. So let's all say no, we won't join. So then we all said we don't join those two empires. It lumped us all together, and then we won the game immediately because we were in an alliance.
yeah, because our
and controlled
federation controlled like 60% of the planets or whatever. I was like, well, we won. Way to go, guys.
And then because we joined the majority, we won. Hooray!
Yay, you did it.
Oh,
We
my
found the
God.
friendship.
So
Stellaris is cool. I have some quibbles about how it handles mid and late game pacing, but like I could do another podcast about Stellaris.
That
Yeah.
means you guys are done with that last game.
Yes.
we are. So we're gonna try and start a new one, and hopefully we can invite new players to it.
I
And
was
what'll be
saying, I've been-
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
You guys have been
do you
talking
wanna
about it
play?
on this podcast. I want to play.
Yeah,
You should
and
play
we'll,
with
we'll
us.
be on the new patch, and I think like somebody will have the story DLCs. We'll all get to experience that.
Yeah, what's really cool about Stellaris is as long as you own the base game, if you join a multiplayer game with other people that own all the additional content, you get access to all that content in that multiplayer game. So you don't actually have to own all the DLC that's come out for it.
That's cool.
Yeah, you just need the base game, and then you can play with everyone. But I don't think you get access to the some of the special race creation options, but you do get access to all the ships and stuff and research in game once you start playing. Yeah.
Okay, I've never played the game. I'll deal with the base stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't. That's what I was basically
I mean, it's
doing.
it's portraits, and like most of the time, you're not going to notice them.
Well, you don't get access to like hive mind or gestalt consciousness either.
Oh,
unless you
right, yeah,
own-
because that you don't. Yeah, you have to create the race before. Although,
Right.
I imagine if somebody made an AI race and like made sure it was in the game, you could probably control it.
Yeah, you could definitely just join the game once it already
like
got started. And
take
just
the
go
AI.
and take one of those one of those people. So yeah, we played that, and that was a lot of fun. And I wanted to compare it to another game I played this week, which is going to be part of my 1,000-part series of play a game from the Humble Bundle subscription. So Humble Bundle offers a subscription that's $12 a month, and every month you get like 7 games, which is like a really good deal.
That's a lot
And
of
maybe
games.
I know, and it's like maybe the games that no one ever heard of, but like one month I got Stellaris in that 7. Another month I got Tomb Raider, the new one, and then another month I got Civ 6 and all the DLC, which I already owned. So I was able to give that to someone else. So
I
it's
have
like
a couple copies of Humble Bundle games like that. They're like, oh, I think I own this now in like 7 places.
yeah. So it's pretty cool. You get all these games. So what I wanted to do when I first got the subscription, I was like, there's no way I'm going to play all of these. But wouldn't it be cool to stream all these games I've never played before or ever heard of, really? Because some of them are really indie and some of them are just popular games that would have completely passed my radar. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try that out. The very first one on that list was Ashes of the Singularity Escalation. I had never heard of this game. I went
That's
into
such a like
I know.
generic, simultaneously generic and like completely obviously a video game title.
I know. It's or like a sci-fi novel, you know.
Oh, self-published on Amazon. Won't stop
Yeah.
being recommended to you.
I've only heard about this game as it being used for a CPU benchmark because I guess it's really
So Android brought this up while we were playing Stellaris, and I was like, "Oh, I've never heard of that." And somebody was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I think people use the benchmark." I'm like, "Oh, I know that game."
the benchmark game. Okay,
Benchmark game. It's
so
got
it's
like
hilarious.
40,000 dudes on screen.
is there
right?
gameplay attached to this benchmark?
Apparently, there is. And what's weird is this game isn't even that old. It came out in 2015 or 2016, and I was like, "Oh man, this
Wait,
game
really?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's why it's so good with multi-core CPU benchmarking
Huh.
because it's actually multi-threaded correctly.
Yeah, it came out. I'm gonna just double check it again. 2016. So it came out exactly 2 years
Huh.
ago. 2 years and 2 months ago. So I was like, I never heard of it. I'll check it out. And then as I'm playing it, I'm like, this game seems really, really familiar. This plays exactly like Total Annihilation, which plays exactly like Supreme Commander, which plays exactly like a Planetary Annihilation. So I was like, wait a minute, what's happening? So
Is it the same
went-
guys?
No. So what happened was Total Annihilation is this older PC game. I'm gonna look it up again really quick.
Made by gas-powered games, I believe.
Yep, that's correct. And
Oh wait, no, they made Supreme Command. Anyway, I don't fucking know. I think they made.
this was
Supreme
Cave Dog. This was Cave Dog
Okay.
Entertainment. And this one came out in 1997. And so to give that context, StarCraft 1 came out in 98. So this came out the year before StarCraft.
I'm looking up the lineage. Gas-powered games was built from ex Cave Dog Entertainment employees, and then made
Yes. Dungeon Siege.
made
Yeah.
Supreme Commander because
Or
they were
Supreme
all
Commander. Wow.
Planetary Annihilation people.
Right. So I was looking into that exactly. There was that like process between those 3 games, but all 3 of those games are based on the original Total Annihilation. So this game is supposed to be the spiritual successor to that, and of course it came out, 20 years later. But a lot of people still hold that old RTS style game like in regard. But I gotta say, man, I don't think the game is for me. I like RTSs. I like strategy games. I like real-time strategy games. But like, this game was so all over the map all the time. There's like 1,000 things you have to keep track of, and there's like a million different strategies you could go into.
There was like a recent game that was like also in the like, hey, it's Planetary Annihilation that came out recently, and it was like you're on like a small, like almost like Mario
Reboot?
Galaxy
Yeah,
moon.
it's the same game.
Yeah.
Like, where Planetary Annihilation, they have, there's like 30 different kinds of units, and you build them up, and you have to. But the way these games work is instead of like StarCraft, where it's like you get 100 gold and then you buy a unit and it costs 100 gold and then it takes this much time to build. These games all work on like a energy cost over time. So like while you're building things, it drains away. So like
So it's kind of like Command and Conquer. If you've played it, if you've ever played those.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like Command and Conquer.
Huh,
Did
that's
Command and
cool.
Conquer? Because Red Alert didn't do that. So I don't. I'm only familiar with Red Alert.
Okay.
Red Alert 2. But yeah, so like so say you have a gain of plus 30 gold a tick or whatever, right? So and then you're building a unit that costs like 2 gold a tick, then you'll have plus 28 because it's draining from your plus 30, you know. And then if you go into the negatives, there's a surplus, so you can take from that if you go under the net gain. But like, so what I don't like about that kind of system is it means you're supposed to be constantly building. Always, everything has to be producing at all times. You have to be making sure you're using 100% of your yields all the time. I don't want to do that. you know?
Does this game support dual screen mode like Supreme Commander did?
I don't know, probably.
Where it actually lets you pull up on 2 separate monitors, and there's 2 separate cameras in the game that you can move around, and you can tab between the 2.
I remember that. Yeah,
That sounds familiar.
So this game does have the strategy view where if you scroll out enough, everything becomes icons. So I'm wondering if they do support that 2-camera view. That'd be pretty.
That was
funny.
like a really cool thing the first time I saw that, and I don't think any other RTS has done anything like that.
But the problem with that is you're still just saying, I want to throw my shit ton of icons at their icons. And like the AI of each unit is not smart enough to take advantage of flanking or any of that crap. So it's like totally useless.
I want to say there was somebody that made like a fan mod for StarCraft 2 that like captured the screen region of your screen that was your mini map and would blow it up onto your second monitor for you.
Mm-hmm.
But like I don't think
sound
any other
familiar.
game has done something with like an RTS actually using your second screen for like data.
It just felt like I was playing the game too slowly, and it definitely the story. I was just going through the campaign. The story is the worst story I've ever heard in my life. The problem with sci-fi is most sci-fi stories are horrible, and I just they don't grab me in any way.
I love sci-fi, but it's all terrible.
Like this one is you're force projecting yourself from Earth, and you're taking control of these units with your psychic presence, and your psychic presence is tethered to this planet by this like beacon or whatever. And so your goal is to you're supposed to destroy the enemy beacon, and that will get rid of their psionic presence on the planet, and that's how you take over a planet. And so you're just going from planet to planet to for some sort of rebellion or something. I don't know. It was kind of.
So you seem to have lost me here because I haven't heard the part where this is bad yet.
How does that sound good? That sounds so stupid.
That sounds like the most perfect trashy sci-fi novel. I love it.
Oh,
that is exactly the space opera I'm into.
Oh my god, that sounds horrible. I need. So I wanted to compare it to Stellaris because Stellaris also has a lot of depth in the stuff you can do, the different directions you can take it, and this game, just playing it for 5 seconds, I could tell that a lot of research would need to go into it before I felt like I was playing it well. But what Stellaris offers is you can insert your own story into the game because the game doesn't come with a story, It comes with a make your own race, make your own legacy, and then events happen.
And then find out that like the really cute space slugs next to you are genocidal maniacs, and
right, and you convert them to your religion or
these
something.
These asshole plants just took a planet from me that I was preparing to mine, and like just. But they're pacifists, so people like them. So I don't want to go to war over it because then it turns into a whole thing, and.
Yeah, so like I feel like it tells better stories, and I was gonna get at the gameplay decisions that I think Bobby discount is because the game, I feel like they built it around stories first and then like attached mechanics to them later. Yeah, and so that's why they're still trying to figure out how to attach mechanics correctly.
Yeah, I was talking about this with one of the guys in the game, Eki, after we were done. And he's like, basically Stellaris is Sword of the Stars. But Paradox made it, and it's like a lot of the mechanics that they have then since stripped out and like changed were stuff that was in Sword of the Stars that like just don't work. you know? And
I never played Sword of the Stars, so I can't.
Neither did I, but like I'm like, oh yeah, this all sounds like stuff that like
checks out.
Was in it checks out. And my main problem is that like a lot of the stories, like the story pack apparently is gonna fixes a lot of these by making the anomalies and stuff take longer in the game, but like by the time you build out your expansion area in Stellaris is
Mhm.
about the time those like player run stories kind of peter out, because now it's like, oh, I just
Yes.
got to go to war now. And then
Right.
that's when the game just becomes like, oh fuck, this is so slow.
Right. And there's
And
a lot of
I'm hitting
management.
late game tax before I feel like it's late game. So like that's a weird dichotomy on the pacing. Like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
hitting mid game. It's time to go to war. Oh, look, I can build Dyson spheres now. Like,
So like Civ
Yeah.
5 and Civ 6, I think they do handle the end game better, where you still get to, because you start the ancient civilization and by the end you're like sort of in the present time, you can still apply like what your plan was. So like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be Gandhi in space, or I'm gonna, be Russians with nuclear missiles. Like all the end game stuff can still play into that story you're building in Civilization. But I agree with Stellaris that once you reach the end, you're like, you just want more of what you started.
Like,
and it's
yeah, more
not-
of that story stuff. The good
Yeah.
generated like.
Well, the
narrative,
World
like,
Cracker, I think, is
narrative.
a good step towards that. Like, I
Yeah.
World Cracker, that was pretty hilarious.
Build Death Stars, and then everybody else gets a notification that you're doing it, and then they get a casus belli to declare war against you, being like, stop production of your fucking Death Star.
What was funny is when we all became the same alliance, we were like, we did it, we all are the same. And I was like, wait, there's one nation that isn't part of our alliance. Let's declare war on them.
Just blow up all their planets.
And so Eki's like, I'm just gonna blow up their home world. And Digi's like, what? I didn't know we were awful, terrible people. And I was like, you are now. You're part of our alliance.
Yep, we all agree. There's no one left to say no.
Yeah, like if the whole universe agrees with us blowing up planets, is it really wrong? So I really enjoyed Stellaris because of that story aspect, but Ash of the Singularity, I'm just gonna chalk it up to saying it's not my kind of game, and I don't think I'm gonna continue playing through the campaign because I did the first like 6 missions and I was so bored by the 6th mission that it's one of those games where it's not challenging, but if you ramp up the challenge, it's going to become impossible, and I really
Right.
don't want to do that because
At that point, you might as well just like train an AI to play the game for you.
it's so much clicking and keeping track of everything and making sure everything's producing, and it reminds me of StarCraft, and I never liked StarCraft.
I love StarCraft.
I
It's
really
weird.
liked,
Like, I never got into Command and Conquer, partially because I
Right.
was spending all my time playing Brood War, but also because like the way it handled, like there were no workers,
Right.
you
you just plop buildings,
fucking
yeah.
shows up.
But like
That
I like
stuff, like I liked that, like that sort of that pace of like balancing the I need to have my units doing stuff, and then having the internal timing running. Oh, it's been 20 seconds. I need to in Brood War hit F1, go back to my home base, build 2 more depots. Have that sort of
I do
pace
not like
going.
that. I do not like that.
Yeah, I'm terrible at that too. Don't worry.
Like I was terrible at it too, and then I played it for 7 years.
That's true. They just need to learn it.
I hit a solid B on Icy Cup in Brood War. It was fun.
Nice. I really liked Warcraft 3, but I never could play the multiplayer because I was bad at it. I just really enjoyed
Damn.
the story. Like the campaign of Warcraft 3
God, Warcraft
is
3.
so good. And I don't know. Maybe
Blizzard has yet to tell a better story.
my campaign expectations for RTS is just too high now.
Just
Yeah.
permanently skewed.
Well, the Red Alert 2 campaign is actually really good too because it's like hilarious.
There's a streamer I watched actually that was recently playing through Command and Conquer 2.
Okay, yeah.
I was like, oh man, like maybe I should go back now and play them because like these things look ridiculous and fun. Here's fucking live action full motion video cutscenes of like a fake fat Einstein making you teleporting technology, and like, oh, okay, fucking I'm on board now.
That sounds like Red Alert 2.
Oh, that might
that's
have been
the
Red
one with
Alert 2. I don't know.
Einstein, and that one's awesome, and you should definitely play it because the FMV sequences
All I
are
remember is there were
hilarious.
tanks that like Mirage tanks that turn into
Yes, the
trees in
Mirage
the
tanks.
stationary.
Yep.
Yeah, the
And
prism tanks.
Prism tanks seem broken as hell.
All 3 of the
So
games
the-
are good. 1, 2, and 3.
The one of the like end game weapons you could build for the Alliance was this big chronosphere where you could teleport.
Yeah, and you can
units.
teleport vehicles.
And,
I was watching the streamer snipe Russian nuke sites with it, with teleporting
We-
prism tanks.
We used to do because we were kids. We used to just play stupidly. But one of the funnest
20
things
minute
to
no
do
rush.
is to chronosphere all their miners, wait for them to all clump up, and then chronosphere them into the ocean. And so they just
war
appear above
miners.
the water and just fall into the ocean and disappear. It's awesome.
I saw some of that. I saw some of the like weirdly aggressive war miners like
Yes.
chasing down prism tanks and just demolishing them.
Because
Apparently
prism
they're really
tanks
good
just-
against them.
Prism tanks can't do anything to war miners because they have so much health. And prism tanks are all about blowing up buildings because they're more like artillery.
Right.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was funny to watch.
And then eventually, because of the promotions in the game, if you get a war miner
yeah,
level
yeah.
3, it starts firing cannon shells. It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Then I was like, some of those campaign missions, like one of the things I took away was like, man, StarCraft units did not talk anywhere this much when you gave them orders. Like
Mhm.
watching this guy like drag like a bunch of GIs that he starts the mission, and whenever he right clicks, all of them at the same time say the same voice line
Yep,
every time he
they
right
do,
clicks.
every time. Yeah,
It was that game looks like something else.
that game's incredible. All the units are great. Anyway, so those were my 2 games. I'm gonna continue playing my Humble Bundle stuff. Next up, I already downloaded it. I haven't played it yet. It's called Brigador.
Oh, that game's so friggin' cool.
Have you played that?
Yes,
Is it
it's.
good?
Have you ever played Desert Strike
No,
or Jungle Strike or City
I-
Strike?
I might have played Desert Strike. That's
I've streamed it a bit on my Genesis. Helicopter game, you're in the desert.
yeah. That does
Oh,
sound
I've played
familiar.
that game. I don't know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
It's that, but you're a mech, so I guess actually it's a modern version of BattleTech for the Genesis and Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
You
So
choose a
this
mech,
one's,
choose its loadout, go into like this top-down isometric view mission stuff, and got to complete it. It's a really cool game. Has an awesome soundtrack.
This one's the Brigador Up Armored edition.
Yeah, that was like an update that like fixed complaints with the structure of some of the missions and like the curve.
They call
the
it a
difficulty.
rogue light, so I don't really know what that means.
So,
It sounds interesting.
Sort of. There's like permadeath for like, oh,
Okay.
you lost this mech kind of stuff.
I see. It sounds cool. I'm excited to check it out.
It's a
'cause
cool
I'm
game.
just going down my list.
If you're into like a really like heavy cyberpunk, like emphasis on the punk aesthetic, it's like really good. The soundtrack is real like grindy industrial electronic.
Okay, cool. The last
High
game
speed, low drag.
that...
That was the rocket. It's one of the cool quotes.
That's the tank. That's the
Yeah, it's the
grizzly.
tanks.
That's the
High
grizzly.
speed, low drag.
High speed, low drag. All their voices are great. Rubber boots on the ground. I love the Tesla troopers. Rubber boots in motion. That's what it is. All right. So the last game I want to talk about is Prismata. I don't know if you have a clip of it. There should be
Ew.
some stuff. So I just wanted to talk about this game real briefly. I know we don't have a huge audience of people that might be interested in this kind of game, but the way I've been reading up on it, because I felt like it's hard to describe, because originally I thought it was a card game, but it's not really a card game. The way I've heard
Yeah,
it
and-
described as a turn-based StarCraft.
Yeah, the way this video describes it is
Yeah,
StarCraft
it
plus
it
Magic the
has-
Gathering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this UI is kind of a mess because there's like a billion things it's communicating to you at once.
Yes, I do want to say that. So I excuse the graphics of this game entirely because the game was made by 5 people, four of which are like StarCraft pros and AI engineers and programmers and some game designers. And just one of them is an artist. So all of the art in this game is done by one person. So
I also have to say that's something about Dauntless is that the UI art is very programmer art right now. A lot of it doesn't even have like
gross.
backdrops or like drop shadows on the text.
Oh, that's awful.
It's real rough.
So this game, I'll describe it really quickly. Is you see on the left there is your bank of things that you can build. What's interesting about this game is it's completely symmetrical. The things that you can build are the same things your opponents can build. There's no hidden information in this game at all. There's no randomization in this game at all. And that's what makes it pure like strategy. But what makes it different than, or what makes it even, different between different plays is because it's all about who goes first, and you have to be able to respond to their strategy with something that's either faster, slower, stronger, and it all depends on what units that you're going to build. So the basic units in this game they have available are these drones, which is the big stack in the middle. Drones are what provide you your economy. Engineers are what provide you energy. And you'll see at the bottom next to their name, there's these 4 different currencies. So that's the economy, and then these 3 different resources. So you have to buy those resource generators to make those specific resources, and then specific units will use those resources. So like there'll be red units that use the red stuff, blue units that use the blue stuff, and green units that use the green stuff.
That sounds like scrolls almost.
Yeah, a little bit like that,
Okay.
except again, like you're symmetrical. So the same things you have access to, they do. So on your turn, you're trying to build up your attack. So as you build these units that have swords on them, those swords are persistent and you can attack with them every turn. The other player needs to build defenders to stop that damage from going through. So if you run out of defenders, which are all the purple shields, so drones that are not expended can defend, engineers that are not expended can defend.
Things that aren't tapped can block, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so if you do destroy all their defenders, you can overrun and then apply your damage directly to whatever you want on their side. And basically, once you start doing that, the game's over because
so like just blow up all their production or like kill their drones or whatever.
Exactly. And because of the way the game works, as soon as they lose their drones or whatever, like if they lose their economy and your economy is still better than theirs, then you win just eventually over time. So a lot of these games,
like StarCraft,
Yeah. So a lot of these games are played up until the point where it's like once you breach their defenses, you've won. So you just keep playing until you can get to that point.
This is sounding very StarCraft.
Yeah, it sounds like a StarCraft game.
Yeah. It's really cool. I really like watching it, and so that's what I've said. I haven't played it because it's expensive. It's $20, I think, to play a game that will be free to play. So that's why I always never want to buy games that will be free to play, because I don't feel like I'm getting any value. That's why I didn't get Fortnite when it came out. So this game, when it's released, is supposed to be free. So once that does come out, it seems like it'd be something really cool to check out. It's very much really cool. It's very much like chess, and it's not quite like Gwent either, because Gwent to me seemed super complicated because it wasn't symmetrical. You had to know every deck and everything, right? Whereas in this game, it's like you know what they can do because you can do the same thing.
It feels more like a board game.
Right, exactly.
Or I guess a board game from like 10 years ago before everything went like first deck drafting and then into like legacy systems and then into living card game stuff. But anyway, yeah, like a board game.
The only thing about
like
this
Dominion almost.
Yeah, Dominion. Yeah, exactly. Where everyone has access to the same pools.
Yeah.
The only thing about this game is once you lose, you probably don't know why you lost. That's
also like yeah.
That's the kind of game that it's like you're like, I was doing so well, what happened? And then it's over,
That sounds like StarCraft.
So it's pretty cool. I just wanted to put it out there and put it on people's radars because when it goes free to play, I will play it, and I think it seems neat. I definitely want to play it with Digi because I feel like it's this kind of game.
Watching this, it like makes me realize like how messed up Magic the Gathering would be if you could just blow up lands with creatures all the time.
Yeah,
I know.
Instead of just like stone raining.
The other thing too is in a real version when you're fighting players, this is a tutorial mode. There's pools for each unit, so you can't just build something forever. So like in this version, they're building walls forever. But in the other version, it's like there's 20 walls. And
is it like a communal pool or?
Nope, each player has their own. Yeah, but that's another thing too, where it's like I'm 5 walls ahead of them, so I'll win eventually. So they surrender.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's like in a for StarCraft people, it's like a TVT. Like, oh shit, I've got 3 more siege tanks. I kind of just win if I don't screw this up.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all I have to talk about for my.
Although I imagine Prismata doesn't have like Hellion drops in your mineral line to worry about. So
no. Although there is one unit that's funny, you can build that snipes through walls, and so it can destroy one thing every turn, but you can only build one of them.
At least in that case, you see it, so it's just I need to get past your defenses and just blow it up.
Yeah. But so what ends up happening is you build a sniper too, and then they just start sniping each other or like various things because they can't kill each other, but they can kill a
But
bunch
they
of
kill
random
everything
things.
else.
Yeah, but they can only kill one thing a turn, and you can only build one of them. So it's just
Oh,
this,
it's,
like,
yeah, that is like actually does sound a lot like a harass drop in like StarCraft.
yeah.
Huh. You
It's
just
pretty
got me
funny.
real interested in this. This is neat.
Yeah, it's really cool. I recommend watching someone play it. Trump SC, who I watch a lot, has been playing it a lot recently. So it might be worth
Speaking of
checking out his
StarCraft,
videos.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why he's super drawn to it. Apparently, this game's been in production for like 3 years because
yeah,
they
I
asked him
was
to
looking
play
at their
it,
studio
like, 3
page and I'm
years
like,
ago.
oh, I know 3 of these names
Yeah.
from like weird. There's a dude here who did some like Katamari Damacy speedrunning stuff. And one dude that like programmed a AI for StarCraft, which
Yep.
was really good. Won the AI contest with it.
Yeah, and so that's why it's interesting to have these AI designers on the game and make sure that the game is not AI solvable while
Yeah.
they're making it.
Two of the
you
people
know.
at the studio have their job title listed as AI mastermind.
That's what I was saying.
That's
like
an
most
awesome
of the
title.
people on most of the people on the team are not artists of any kind.
The main founder is a dude who won the Reddit StarCraft Brood War tournament.
Mhm.
So I've probably watched and or played against him at some point without realizing it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. Do you guys want to take like a very short break, like a 2.5-minute break or something?
Sure.
So I can grab a water.
Water.
Yes. And then we'll get to
I'll go-
our news.
Go check in on
back
that
to the
Bethesda
news.
thing. See if that Bobblehead's still sleeping.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Is it? All right. Awesome. Thank you. Hello?
Chew, chew, chew. Chew,
Are you
chew.
ready? I'm
Chew,
ready.
chew.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Yeah, are we
No.
on?
Yes! Let's go,
Oh.
Pikachu!
Oh,
let's go,
yeah.
Eevee.
I hear you.
Oh man.
I guess there was a delay on the mic or something because I did not hear you say we were back. Sorry.
No man, he was segueing into the breaking news. Pokemon exists.
Yes. Okay. Pokemon. So I don't understand what Pokemon Quest is, but it's a
So-
lot more interesting looking to me than the
I didn't
next one.
like. I didn't like. Unfortunately, I didn't go to like. I imagine the website for whatever this is must be up at somewhere now. But this looks like. So this stream was like Nintendo announced like yesterday, day before. I don't know, in Japan anyway. And there was going to be like a Pokemon reveal thing today, and so this like happened like an hour maybe before we started the podcast. This is all very fresh. Breaking news.
Smoking hot, fresh news.
They started off with this thing called Pokemon Quest. It's like kind of looks like blocky, voxely, Minecrafty Pokemon, and like all the characters are like adorably squished into like squares.
And the gameplay it looks a lot like not Mystery Dungeon, but that kind of game where like
Yeah.
they're moving around and
Yeah, and this is going to be much like the earlier mentioned Pokemon Match 3 game. This is like what Nintendo's calling their free to start.
yeah, I just
Game.
read that.
So like I don't know what this is. I haven't looked super far into it because I don't remember seeing like a link to a website about this anywhere.
It's on the Pokemon website right now. Actually, I was just
okay,
checking
so that
it
one
out.
up. Yeah.
Oh, maybe I should
Yeah.
pull that up. It's gotta be a better way than all these Twitter links.
Yeah, when they announced these on Twitter, it was just Twitter, and then there was a link to the website, both in the trailer and in some of the tweets that didn't go anywhere because the sites weren't up yet. So,
If you go to the Nintendo Switch right now, it's,
Oh,
already
it's
available.
out right now.
oh shit!
So
Oh, cool.
Pokemon Quest available
could've-
now. Go buy it.
Could
Play
have
it.
goddamn could have like put that on the thing. Let me
Burnout, you have
do that
your
real quick.
Switch right there, right?
How
Download
did
it
they
for
not
us.
mention this in these? How did they not mention
Yeah.
these in these announcements? Oh my
You
god!
guys have this whole podcast thing down, right? I'm just gonna go on the thing.
play this blocky Pokemon game
Right now.
where they look
Here it is.
hilarious.
So yeah, this thing looks cool.
Here, it's free to download.
Like it's super cute. I love
That's
these
awesome.
like so the mobile Nintendo stuff has been hit or miss like on phones. But
Mhm.
like well I say hit or miss, but like Fire
I'll
Emblem
let that
Heroes
download.
pretty popular, Pokemon Go pretty popular, which we'll get to in a minute.
Right.
And the only real miss has been like Miitomo and the Animal Crossing thing.
Right.
Oh my god, this Charizard, fucking holy shit.
I know.
Cute
Looks
dude.
amazing.
But yeah, so like the free to start games have actually been pretty good. Most of those show up on like the 3DS, I believe, and the Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, a lot of them were like Pokemon games. There was like a Pokemon like Bejeweled thing, which was cool. But yeah, so I'll see whatever the hell this is. Give you a report on that later. But that was cool. The next announcement was like more substantial in that it was, I want to say a week or two ago, there was like a leak about a new Pokemon title called Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee.
Mm-hmm.
And so here, this was the official announcement, and it sort of like really confirmed all.
A little
The
early. I was
rumors
expecting
about
this at the Nintendo conference for E3.
Yeah, A, I was expecting this
Yeah.
at E3, and B, it confirmed like a lot of the stuff that was in the leaks about like
It looks
Pokemon
so
Go interaction and
Sorry, continue.
the Pokemon Go interaction and like just like the content of the game and like. So on the one hand, this is like weird because it's like Pokemon. It seems like it's a bigger more gamified, meatier Pokemon Go, in that this is, if according to all their details, this is like a remake of Pokemon Yellow.
Mhm.
So it's like that full thing, but it has the Pokemon Go mechanics and like, not too sure what the and like well like
And it's
graphically
3D and costumes.
yeah, and like it looks like an upgraded visually upgraded version of like Pokemon Sun and Moon on the 3DS. It's the same, very similar looking art style, just with lighting and not running at 9 frames a second.
Right.
But it also has like, it seems like all the wild encounters are like Pokemon Go wild encounters where you're just chucking the Pokeball, hoping for the
Pokeball
best.
Joy-Con that you can buy separately.
Yeah,
That the little
and
Pokeball
also
nub is a
functions-
joystick and a
also-
button, and you can
And it
throw
also
it.
functions. It also functions as a Pokewalker, so you can take Pokemon from the game with you and like walk around with them and like level them
Yes.
up.
And
You
they
can
make
transfer-
noises.
You can transfer the Kanto Pokemon from the original 151 from Pokemon Go into the game, where they appear to go to somewhere called Go Park, which I imagine is like Pal Park from Generation 4. So they'll be catching them mid games, blow things up. Then it looks like it has like trainer battles and shit that look like normal-ish or more normal Pokemon battles. So like,
So this is the game that everybody wanted Pokemon Go to be, like
yes.
collecting the Pokemon and actually being able to use them.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
combat actually looks real. Like
Yeah, and so it doesn't look like there's any wild Pokemon combat. It all looks like it's trainers. So like, I imagine a big deal of this is going to be like, yeah, walk with your Pokemon, do stuff because they level up that way in Pokemon Go, and then bring them back to the game or whatever and do stuff there. Like, so this isn't. If all of this sounds like this doesn't sound like a new Pokemon game I'd be interested in, doesn't sound at all like the regular ones. Don't worry. At the end of the announcement, they're just like, by the way, the next mainline core game, all new, I believe was the phrasing they used. Next all new core Pokemon game will come out late next year. Don't worry about it.
What I do want to add about this Pokemon game, which I think is actually really neat, is we for the first time have multiplayer, in the sense that you can have
co-op.
2 players playing together, walking next to each other, possibly
Yes.
catching Pokemon together.
Yeah, and it looks like
You know.
Pokemon catching is easier when there's 2 people doing it. So I imagine I'm going to be
Right.
spending a lot of time.
Playing 2-player but by yourself and just
Yeah,
Perfect. I mean, it is 1 controller per player, so
Mhm.
very
Yeah.
easy to do. But it actually
And-
sounds like
yeah.
a fun way to play a Pokemon title, is playing it with someone the whole way
Yeah,
through.
and,
to co-op it.
like
I would do that.
something like this is going to like inherently skew younger, especially with the way its mechanics have been very simplified to being Pokemon Go.
Mhm.
And so like, there's plenty of people that like I see playing Pokemon Go as like a family. Like a
Yeah.
parents out with their kids and they're all playing it together. So like, this is like fucking perfect for that, right?
yeah.
The older Pokemon's old enough to be shared now, right? Is it? Sorry, I meant with parents to share with their kids, because they now have kids.
yes. First
Okay.
one I want to say was 98 in North America.
It was 96.
96.
Oh.
Yeah, it's an old one.
Yeah,
I want to say 96 was the Japan release.
so 22 years ago,
It's old.
So so they could be like, yeah, there could be 11-year-olds that had
Yep.
played it.
I mean, that's like my
had a
cousin.
kid, and then
I have a cousin that I believe just turned either 13 or 14. So like I got to introduce him to Pokemon, which was pretty cool.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
So that's pretty cool. Neat.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
should
I do
break
have
out
one
Pokemon
thing,
Go and
one fun thing to say about it. I know there's a lot of people that listen like the Pokemon Go connection, and are just like really Pokemon Go? Does anybody play that anymore? I just want to
Yes.
real quick point out that it's one of those games you don't hear about a lot. But like, here's the top 10 top grossing apps on Android in Canada right now. Got number 10 Summoner's War, number 9 Clash of Clans, number 8 Lords Mobile, which looks like a Clash of Clans clone. 7 is Slot Mania, which is I guess pretty
Yeah.
apt. 6 is
Slots.
Final Fantasy 15, A New Empire.
Yes.
5th is Google Drive, I guess.
Top
people
grossing.
buying storage plans. Number 4 is Candy Crush Saga. Number 3 is Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, which is an alright mobile game. Number 2, top grossing, Pokemon Go.
What's number
Yeah.
one?
Tinder.
But I don't. How do you spend money in Tinder?
They limit you to a certain number of likes in 12 hours, and
Yeah, like a free-to-play game, you've got an energy bar, and you run out, and you can buy
Yeah.
more love
Wait.
gems.
Yes,
Really?
and you can buy
Yeah,
more
I
super
know that.
likes and undos, and you can buy like there's like a preferred fucking like you get surfaced earlier or more noticeably in people's it's you can
What is
you
super
can-
likes? I don't want to know. Never mind.
I
Forget
don't
it.
know.
Just
I-
forget
There's
it.
just- you can buy the ability to
I don't
Tinder
know.
remotely, so like you can
But-
be in Toronto and like, oh, I'm going to New York tomorrow. I'm gonna start Tindering now for my New York trip.
Oh my god.
Anyways, yeah, you don't have to
Forget
convince me that Pokemon Go is still a thing. There's
It's-
a
yeah,
gym or
it's-
something at the high school next to my house, and I frequently
Yeah.
see groups of like 20 people in the corner all just, you can
Yeah.
tell they're playing Pokemon Go and they're fighting over the gym.
Like it's
When they
weird.
were
I
doing
don't
the,
notice how many people are playing it, but I do notice when I open it up and I see, oh, all the gyms are different today.
Mhm.
Yeah. Whenever they do the they were doing the massive Pokemon thing, or they were doing the legendaries, and you need a bunch of people to come together to fight them. That was big in our area too. There was like discords of people of where to meet up and where to go, and so it was like
I need
trying
one
to
of those.
track those. And so that's how my girlfriend got a bunch of the legendaries, like Rayquaza and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so like that's why this excites me, even though it's not a traditional Pokemon title. It's that like here's a thing that's already pretty cool and pretty like interactive, and like let's here's the added layer to that, and that seems pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's not bad. It's better than Go. It's like an improvement upon it. It's just I don't know. I'm
I'm
not a
gonna
big
be able
fan
to
of Go,
import
personally.
the Bulbasaur I started Pokemon Go with and play with them in this game. That's cool.
That is cool. But in the what is it? The something of time. In the presence of time, just because it's late. I'm gonna
Yep.
move on to the
Oh, yeah.
next games and
Go right ahead.
running through stuff. So we talked last week or 2 weeks ago about the new Stalker 2 that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Turns out we know why it came out of nowhere.
No, literally nobody except the dude running the studio knew it was being announced.
Sergei
Yeah.
Galenkin.
Yeah, he announced it because in advance of E3 in order to like hunt for a publisher.
Turns out the game is still in its design doc stage. They have nothing. It's just an idea still, and he put
Yep.
that hype out because he's looking for a publisher.
Yep. So there you go. Game isn't real.
No,
Oh my god.
And it's
Not
funny
even a
because
real game yet.
when he started up this studio, it was like, no, I'm not making a new Stalker game because the Cossacks series is way more popular and sells better. And then they made Cossacks 3, and now he's announcing Stalker 2. So I guess we know what people actually really are buying.
Yeah. I mean, Cossacks 3, I've never heard of, but apparently on Steam, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things, mostly to do with it being kind of like a buggy mess, but
It came
I don't
out
know.
2
So
years
was
ago.
Stalker, so I guess that seems appropriate.
Wow, that's funny. I didn't realize. I didn't actually read the article because it was in Russian. But yeah, that's
Oh, yeah,
hilarious.
Google Translate. Then.
Yeah, that's what I did this time. Yeah.
Anyways, that's all. Just want to follow up on that it's really not a story because, well, there's no game. So,
Right. Speaking of things that aren't games, so the game we all played together once that was a lot of fun for a short amount of time was Sea of Thieves. And Sea of Thieves was a really fun experience for a week. And that was sort of the problem of Sea of Thieves, is it was fun for exactly 1 week of time. And we
for
really
exactly
enjoyed it.
one
For
Game Pass
exactly-
trial worth of time.
Game Pass trial of time.
Yes, and I actually own it, so I'm pretty excited to check out these expansions / DLCs because I can get them easily. But they've announced the new expansion. I believe we said that last week, but they actually talked about what's going to be in it. And there's some new items and stuff that they're adding that's going to be really cool. They're also adding a new campaign, so there's going to be like story elements to it, which should just build on the whole like reason to play the game, hopefully. You know. And
More tools, more toys in the sandbox.
and the thing too is just, you know, I really do believe Sea of Thieves is a really well done thing. It's made really well, and they can build upon it, and it can go in so many directions. So I'm excited to see them actually adding more content to the game. I feel like they can add content to the game stably at this point now that they've fixed a lot of their issues, but you know, we'll have to see.
A nice solid
apparently-
platform that just need content.
Yeah. Apparently there's going to be a giant creature and stuff, and there's
It looks weird in
Yeah.
like a good like deep sea creature way.
Yeah. So I'm excited about it. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Don't know
That's
if
all I
I
have to say about that
don't know
too.
if I like it enough to Game Pass or buy the game, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
I'll wait for somebody else to review it, and if it's worth it, I'll pay $10 to play it for 1 month of Game Pass.
Yeah.
I just have a strong feeling that in a couple more months, Sea of Thieves Battle Royale is going to be announced, and that's going to be the new popular thing. So keep your eyes on that.
100 pirates sailing around on ships.
God,
And
that
that's-
would
if
be
you die,
That actually would be fun if they
God,
did
I
it.
that'd
know
be
it would.
good. Fuck.
That's the problem. It would be fun if you had 25 teams of 4, and they
Or even
just,
not
you
even if it
know-
was a battle royale game. If there were just 25
Oh, if
ships
there was
on
just
the map,
if they just
Instead of
increased the size of the
6 or
servers.
5, whatever the fucking.
Well, like they said, the whole like people can like teleport in and out of maps seamlessly. I do think that's pretty cool, and I
Yeah.
don't know how they do that at all, but it's pretty awesome when it works.
Well, if
It's
you
just-
ask Phoenix
yeah.
Labs, you'll learn about how it doesn't work when
Yeah.
it breaks.
So that's the Sea of Thieves, and then the next story we have is sort of larger in that it caused a lot of internet kerfuffling, which
What
is
they would call a
Oh,
hot
did it?
button issue.
yeah, which is no
Button.
no
Oh,
good.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
So we
So,
were
yeah.
talking about Battlefield 5 last week, I believe, right?
Dice
'Cause-
Dice had it announced that they were like, hey, May 23rd or something, or 26th, whatever.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna talk about, or 20, was it? It might have even been the 23rd. I think it was the day after the podcast.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Last week was like, hey, we're gonna do a thing that day and like finally show you Battlefield 5. Because
You know what it
they've been
was?
slowly
Is,
making
we were talking about blops. Black Ops.
Ops 4.
Oh,
And
yeah.
whenever
Blops,
Call of Duty comes out with something, Battlefield has to come out with something. So I just
Right.
sort of assume
Yeah, it's a safe
was
assumption.
Mhm.
I think it
So-
was like it was in the list of things to maybe talk about, but it was like it's just an announcement of an announcement. Who cares? So like they reveal it at a launch event that was like pretty good, and there was like a lot of like good details about like the stuff they want to do with the game, and they want to continue doing like the war story vignette single player stuff.
Yeah, that
Hopefully
sounds
will feel, which will hopefully feel less like a blown out tutorial for the DLC or for the multiplayer, like some of them did in the first game. There were a couple really good vignette missions, but a lot of them were just kind of, it's a
Yeah.
first person shooter campaign.
Yeah.
And like, talks about like their design goals, and like they wanted to really ground you in like a very authentic feeling, very
and
immersive.
It's World War
World
II.
War II. Yeah, World
Yep.
War II. It's a big surprise.
Yeah.
Turns out after World War One,
Back to the
we
roots,
get
just
World War
like Call of
II.
Duty did.
Yeah.
And so then they showed a trailer, so this trailer, it's not a bad trailer. It just has the problem of being way too honest in that Most Battlefield trailers are very cinematic. They're very like regal almost in portraying
Right.
Battlefield as like
Mhm.
this,
I remember the last one.
as like
Yeah, it was
Saving
really
Private
good.
Ryan, you know, like this very glorious depiction of the gameplay in Battlefield, when the actual gameplay in Battlefield is like barely contained chaos, and it's people backflipping out of planes and sniping pilots to steal their planes, and
I love
Yeah,
Battlefield.
piling 9 pounds of TNT on a Jeep and driving it
Jihad
into
Jeeps.
tanks, and getting, or in Battlefield having somebody spawn as the cavalry class in Battlefield 1, and putting a flamethrower dude, having him just like stand on the back of the horse and just shoot a flamethrower while you're riding a horse, and just, not, and that's what the trailer was. The trailer was like, hey, we're
Right.
going to show off all our crazy customization that we're doing, which, by the
Right.
way, no more loot boxes, no more premium pass, all the DLC is free, you're just buying cosmetics with earnable
Yes, they were
currency.
very clear about that because for some
Because-
reason, who knows why?
Mhm.
For some reason, people didn't like how they did it before. Weird. And so they show it off, and it's like, here's this like British woman with like a prosthetic arm, and like literally everything in this trailer is like super customized. It's not just the player models. Like there's this one British dude with like a katana. There's another dude with like 1900 things on his gun, like camo nets and like ribbon trophies, and like there's like tanks that come crashing through the house. The characters it introduced in the trailer, I'm pretty sure you watch die and respawn, or at least that's the impression you get. Like it's very much, this is what multiplayer is, and then it cuts into fake gameplay to show you multiplayer.
Right.
And like it's like brutally honest as to like the type of insanity that is Battlefield multiplayer gameplay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
And-
see. I can see what you're talking about now. Yeah.
As it turns out, I say people, but a
Yeah.
certain segment of the gaming community really doesn't like it when you put a woman front and center in your
Yeah.
shooty video game.
Right. And it was
And
this.
got real mad.
Yeah.
Real upset. Very, very predictably, I should add, got very upset about this. And
So there's still these movements of certain groups of people of just whenever there's any possible political correctness being shown in any sort of video game
or
media,
even like implied political correctness.
yeah, even implied political correctness is a group of people that just sort of come out of the woodwork and they get real upset and they go on the
Yeah.
Reddit or they go on Twitter and they start sending things.
And they
just
like massive dislike bomb the trailers on YouTube and just like everything.
Stuff
It's
like
a
that.
mess. Yeah.
Mhm.
But what's interesting to me about this is, so on Twitter, the director or something, he was like,
Mhm.
"I don't care, deal with it." That was
Yep.
that was basically what he said. And so then all these like various news articles across the various like Polygon and Kotaku and whatever else other tech websites, they all picked up the same story, and they were like, women or playable female characters introduced in Battlefield 5, internet in uproar. But and
Yeah,
then
it was all circular past a certain point.
because I was like, they're like, as seen previously here, and I was like, oh, let me click on that, and it brings me to like another news article where it's like Battlefield 5 playable female character, internet in uproar, and I'm like, wait, what? And it's like, as seen here, it's like, click on that. And it
I think
brings
it's
me
just
to another
because,
news
like-
article.
Like at
It's
some
like,
point
what?
linking, like I think if they do that because like at some point just linking your source as like a Reddit comment thread isn't very
The old
useful.
Reddit switcheroo.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's not particularly, you didn't have to go very far out of your way online to find outrage about this. And what I find fascinating
Yeah.
about this is that this has followed the exact same trajectory at the exact same pace as the reaction to the Battlefield 1 reveal.
Mhm.
Where with Battlefield 1, people were upset at the absolute audacity of DICE including black people
Yeah,
as
Oh,
characters in
I feel
Battlefield
like I
1.
remember that.
It was like the first time, because like the game came out in a very when American politics were in a very abrupt state of change. So there was like the uproar was originally like, oh my god, why are you putting black people in my video game? And then very quickly, when that didn't like gain traction as a complaint, it changed to historical accuracy.
Yeah.
About like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, sure, there were black people in World War One, but they were in segregated units. Why are they just like why are there black German soldiers? And like, like the
I
complaint
do
ultimately
remember
boils down
that.
to is like you're Jordan Petersoning your argument of just adding fluff to sort of disguise your point, you know? It's like, no, your ultimate point is with Battlefield 1, you just don't want black people in the game.
And
it's not about historical accuracy.
That was a far-reaching thing too. I
Yes.
remember that being in a lot of different games, and then it just became this like historical argument about whether or not.
And like this is Battlefield. This game has never been historically accurate. It's been grounded in a setting, but that's completely different from realism, right?
Right.
Like you can like 1942, the first Battlefield game was like, yeah, it was slower paced, but like A, that was part due to the technology, and B, like the fucking expansion pack included jetpacks.
Right.
Yes.
Like this game has never been the series has never been historically accurate. It's been authentic to a setting and it's been attempts at immersion.
Right.
But like it's never been historically accurate. And then you got this weird mini foretelling of this drama when the Battlefield 1 DLC came out, I think In the Name of the Tsar is what it's called. It was like a Russian front for expansion for the World War I game, where the Russian scout class was a female character model, and people got upset the same way they're getting about this.
Right.
First was, why is it women? And then it was, okay, that didn't catch on. So now it's, why is it women in this historically inaccurate way? Not all Russian snipers were women. That's just a media creation. Why are you pushing? And just
that's just a media. Yeah, exactly. That's
like
that's the real argument,
guys. It's there, and then there are people complaining about like, I don't want my players to look like clowns. This looks like Fortnite, because apparently every bright, colorful game these days is like a Fortnite cartoony art style. Like,
I mean, Diablo 3 was the same thing when that first was announced. Everyone just hates colorful. They're like, they're playing the lowest common denominator.
It's like game. Fortnite. I'm not gonna revive people who dress like a clown in Battlefield. Like, fucking
they're ruining
whatever.
my childhood. You know,
like, fucking whatever, man.
I just don't understand why this is news when I'm pretty sure Call of Duty World War II came out and also had people dressed like clowns and women.
Call of Duty World War II had black women.
Yeah.
Dressed like clowns. They had everything.
Dressed like clowns.
And like, for whatever reason, people weren't super upset about that online, because what I'm guessing is the case is that the people who think of themselves as Battlefield fans think of themselves as a certain class above the common denominator of a Call of Duty fan.
Yeah.
So you don't see a lot of discussion anywhere on the internet about Call of Duty because people don't like it on the internet, even though it's like sells like a gazillion copies every year anyway.
Yeah. So that's the other thing I wanted to talk about last to close that up really quick too, is just that, you know, I do think that these news articles that come out, like I was saying, where they're all self-referencing each other and they're trying to blow up this, like, you know, this supposed group of people that, I mean, I don't want to say supposed because I know they exist. I just think that they're a small group of people that have existed for years now, you know, and they keep getting this attention from these articles that are like us versus them.
Yeah,
like,
I think
watch out for these jerks. And like, if you read the comment on the Polygon article that we looked to, I think the very first comment, was the very first comment was, eat shit, sexist man children. Like,
oh man.
But that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, that's why the article was written, to inflame one side of people against the other side of people. You know, so it's like, and it's like that person feels justified in that statement, like, you know, gamer nerds are ruining it for everyone. But it's like, yes, those group of gamer nerds are ruining it for everyone, but we didn't have to let them ruin it for everyone. We could have just,
I think a lot of the pushback is ultimately just going to be like what it was with Battlefield 1, where it's like 3 months before the game comes out, nobody's going to care, and the thing's going to sell a gazillion copies.
Right. Well, exactly, too. It's just
because the people that are complaining, a lot of them aren't going to buy the game anyway, because they don't buy the game, they're just here to complain.
Or they're gonna buy the game and they're just complaining because they can, and then, you know, it's just, they have the platform to do so.
They're never gonna touch any of the customization that lets them do anything they're upset about.
Like, I do,
or even notice the customization, because it's Battlefield and the thing moves at 1,000,000 miles an hour anyway. Although, to be fair, like, a lot of the people, the conversation then turned into like what this trailer is representing the multiplayer to look at and be like, this looks crazy, I can't even follow this, it's so cartoony and like crazy action nonstop, and that's not my Battlefield. And then you read, like, there hasn't been
hashtag not my Battlefield.
It probably exists, but like,
I guarantee
like
it exists.
The EA Play events, I was about to say at EA's event at E3, but it's technically not E3. they're showing gameplay just like they did with Battlefield 1, where Snoop Dogg got everybody contact high. At Weed 3.
It
But
works.
like the gameplay that, sorry, I just finished this thought. The gameplay that, like, there's a YouTuber named Jack Frags who's been doing Battlefield content like forever, and like his report on the gameplay was like, no, they're like actually for immersion, and that like the gameplay is like slowed down a lot. In that, hey, here's you spawn in with like 2 mags of ammo only. Like reloading and like medic packing people isn't just like you throw a pack and their health goes up. There's like an animation to revive people. There's an animation you gotta like drag bodies into cover. You can like build sandbags and emplacements, and like it's like, oh shit, this actually sounds like a really good evolution on Battlefield. I can't wait to actually see real gameplay instead of the crazy cinematic trailer.
Don't look up Not My Battlefield. It is.
Yeah,
it is in fact a Twitter tag where it is people writing twit-longer rants about how this is just to appeal to SJWs. And
that's good.
I couldn't have told you that without even.
Yeah.
So
it's like watching this trailer on loop. Like, holy shit! There's a friggin' Churchill gun carrier in one of the things. That thing's it just actually like went by the thing. That thing is like a terrible tank destroyer on a Churchill tank that like they built like 4 of. It's like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So speaking of realistic, super hyper realism shooter games, PUBG Corp is suing Epic over Fortnite.
Yep.
Whoa, no! PUBG Corp has finally
PUBG Corp is such a fucking name for a company, huh?
I know, it's pretty bad. It's not even the name of the company; it's just the subsidiary under the actual publisher. So
yeah, under Blue Note or whatever.
Yeah, Bluehole.
Bluehole,
which is my favorite name for a company.
So is Bluehole or is it PUBG that's like part owned by Tencent?
It's the Chinese. The
so
Chinese own the like. So they don't actually own Bluehole. It's just that they own the Chinese distribution of PUBG.
Rights to distribute PUBG.
Yeah, that's how Tencent owns a lot of things.
Yeah, because Tencent also owns like 40% of Epic, which makes Fortnite.
Correct.
So this has only been filed in Korea. It was apparently filed in like January, but nothing's happened. It's only become public over the weekend.
Yeah.
And like they're suing them over like, hey, like not gameplay elements because those aren't copyrightable, but like UI stuff.
Yeah.
Like copying, and like the timing of this is funny because like Fortnite is launching officially in Korea like now-ish. So like this is, you know, a big way to like, hey, we need to block out our competitor and sue them over stuff.
It's just so weird.
It's weird.
They're suing the company that provides them their game engine.
Yeah, and that's where this gets really, really messy because it happened to Epic before.
Yeah.
Where the makers of 2 Human, whose name I'm completely forgetting, when 2 Human like shit the bed and like the company sued Epic over like failure to like provide, because like it was made on Unreal Engine 3. And Unreal
Silicon Knights.
Done yet? Silicon Knights, thank you. Unreal Engine 3 wasn't done yet, so it was like, yo, you didn't provide us like support or updated builds and like whatever.
Yeah.
And then Epic countersued and was like, you know, like took off the gloves, like got their lawyers to read through their fucking Unreal EULA and like pour through code and was like, no, actually, A, we did all this. B, your code for the game left our comments in it, so we know you're just plagiarizing our code. And this game that you're making, this X-Men game you're making that doesn't have a license to use Unreal Engine, but like our comments are in it, so like you ripped it off, you fucking morons. So like they won. They won that suit. They had like Silicon Knights had to withdraw from sale all those X-Men and 2 Human copies that didn't sell and destroy them, and then the company went bankrupt. So like PUBG.
Oh my god.
So PUBG Corp, good luck. Epic's going to be going over that contract with a fine-tooth goddamn comb to find something. And
they destroyed Silicon Knights.
They literally killed the company with the counter.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was like a $5.5 million judgment, and plus that amount in legal fees. Plus they had an injunction on all sales of those 2 games.
Yeah. Also, so again, just for the in consideration of time, I'm going to move on to the next story, which is also very quick. Megaman 11 which had been announced previously, now has a new trailer, and it looks incredible.
It's officially called the pre-order trailer, which is a way to go, I guess.
Give him your money.
I'll give him my money because it looks incredible. It looks exactly like what Mighty Number 9 was supposed to be, and then failed, like super failed to do.
It actually
and I don't even know
like
why.
Initial concept art.
I don't even know why theirs is working so much better. I don't know if they're using Unity. I hope they're using Unity because I think that'd be funnier. As to why Mighty Number 9 was unsuccessful.
Like this looks a lot better than when they first showed it.
Yeah,
like visually, like it looks like they add like before it looked everything was a little like there was like a bloom filter on everything. Everything was a little hazy. Megaman didn't have quite the contrast with the background that he does here. He was a little lighter. And so now this he has added contrast. Everything's a little sharp. All the graphics are sharper. Things are moving better. Like this looks like a good ass Mega Man game.
This looks like a more logical evolution from the 2D to the 2.5D, 3D,
and like early NES style bosses that like all the mainline Mega Man games have. And like, hey, we've got like a you can slow down time button, and here's a you can supercharge weapons button, and here's a boss that's like a puppet that like fights you from the background, and like
Yeah, it's got really cool stuff because it's more like Shovel Knight in their boss design, which is a huge improvement over the original Mega Mans. So I'm hoping that they all the bosses are really interesting because the two that they show in this trailer are really cool looking already.
Like Fuse Man moves really quick, so you have to use the slowdown. And the other dude whose name I'm forgetting is like this giant dude. Yeah,
because I was thinking the slowdown is almost like Celeste's accessibility feature, where you can slow down the gameplay because otherwise you have to react too quickly, which is hard for some people.
Right.
So I'm wondering if this will have accessibility features like that, because slowing down time to react to these kind of things would be the perfect solution to solving Mega Man's difficulty or known difficulty.
Also, is it just me or does Blockman just look like was it Woodman except blocks instead of a tree trunk?
Bricks instead of wood.
I mean, you can look up Stone Man if you want.
I guess,
from Mega Man 5 and go, oh, never mind. He looks exactly like Stone Man, but gray.
He like grows into like a fat version of him.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a cool callback. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, this looks cool.
I forgot to mention that I love Mega Man. I'm a huge Mega Man fan.
Oh, you don't say.
As you can tell from my poster.
The only good Mega Man was Mega Man 64. Next story.
Mega Man 64 is just Mega Man Legends, right?
Yeah, but on a good console. Next story.
What? I guess that's fine.
Man, I liked that game.
Next story.
That's incorrect.
So, I don't know if we've talked about Legend of Zelda Randomizer on here before.
I think we mentioned it. Link to the Past.
It's cool, and it's a very cool speedrun.
Yeah,
speedrun hype.
And so I was browsing Kotaku, and Jason Schreier put up a post on Monday. But like, hey, here's and like I didn't know about this. This apparently existed for a while, but this is a Final Fantasy IV randomizer that basically just kind of the objective of this one basically turns the game into an open world RPG.
Really?
You start the game with two characters at random and the airship. And then everything else in the game is randomized. So you just got to go explore around, pick up treasure, go to the places that trigger character introductions, and it gives you two new random characters for the party.
That sounds like it's really changing the gameplay of
and then its level scales everything. So like, oh, I'm gonna go fight the first boss in the game or whatever, and it's pulling in Azura from Final Fantasy IV. And it's like, okay, it's scaled to like level 7 or whatever. But like it's still casting Cure 3 and Cure 4 in itself every other turn, so it's healing for like 400. And so the strategy then becomes, so with my party of Edward, Dark Knight, Cecil, and Palom, how do I beat Azura at level 5?
Wow, this is so cool.
It sounds really cool. I'm gonna check this out because like Final Fantasy IV is a freaking amazing Final Fantasy game.
In the article you link, there's even someone speedrunning it.
Yeah, the speedrunning it. That's where I pulled Azura from, because this whole thing was like, well, Azura's doing like 3 damage because he's level 5 or whatever, or it's level 5, but like it heals itself every turn for like full health. So like I gotta have Palom use bluff to like buff my magic attack to 1,000,000.
Mhm.
and then just try to one-shot Azura. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to win, and I'll have to start over.
Yeah. It's
And
interesting.
he has Edward as one of his starting characters, who's fucking useless. It
It
seems
kind
really
of
cool.
it kind of reminds me of the other RPG speedruns where they sort of go out of bounds early and then they,
Yeah.
use that and then sort of do the storylines backwards. Like, have you ever seen those RPGs where they do the boss order backwards?
Yes. There's
And
a
so they're
really
like,
good Pokemon Red speedrun. That's
Yeah.
reverse gym order,
reverse gym order.
First gym
Yeah,
order
it's-
Pokemon's pretty good.
which is
It
messed up.
kind of reminds me of that
Yeah.
sort of,
What's cool is
CPG
just
things
like
in a
in
different order.
Link to the Past, all the chest items are randomized. So it's like you'll open a chest at the beginning of the game and it's like, oh shit, Excalibur's in here or whatever. And then, it's like, oh shit, this chest just has like 1 billion gil in it or whatever. So I can just go to the store and buy its random items and it's like, it's cool. It's like it turns it into basically an open world RPG. Just go poke at stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And eventually, the objective is to beat Zeramus, and so you've got to
So the
eventually
final
get
boss isn't out of order. It's always the same.
yeah.
Yeah. So you still need
and
to do
all the other
yourself.
bosses are like randomized, but they're scaled to whatever boss they're replacing.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems really cool.
Yeah. So the next story is interesting because Tommy Tallarico is weird to be in the news for stuff that Video Games Live. So I don't know if you guys watch Video Games Live.
Yep.
But Video Games Live is really awesome game thing that he does where he puts on a concert of different video game music. We actually went to one in Boston not that long ago, so it was really cool. But I didn't post this article, so I don't know.
Yeah, so I grabbed this because I saw this pop up on Twitter and I was like, fucking what? I saw last night that there was like a tease that his ex co-host from Electric Playground and what was it, Reviews on the Run, Victor Lucas was like, yo, I'm talking to Tommy tomorrow. He's on the show for the first time in a while. We're going to be, we've got an announcement to make. The announcement is Tommy Tallarico wants to relaunch the Intellivision.
Hey, I hear it's real cool right now to reprint old consoles.
Yeah, but
so weird.
Remember the Intellivision? Remember all the great Intellivision titles?
I mean,
No.
so it's weird because the Intellivision was like a really good console for its time. And it had a lot of really good burst in gaming. It was the first thing to have synthesized speech in a video game, which if you've watched Angry Video Game Nerd, you might remember B-17 Baumer.
Yeah.
Which and it had a network it had a networked game delivery service in 1986 or whatever. The Intellivision is a cool piece of hardware, and he wants to relaunch it as this a very rose-colored glasses sort of thing of video games of hey, modern video games aren't exactly playable by the whole family at the same time,
Right.
because a lot of them have grown quite complicated and controllers have 1 billion buttons. And I know personally my dad, I stopped playing video games with him because eventually more than 2 buttons on an NES than the NES controller, can't play it, right?
Yeah.
And so he wants to make something that's let's just make a platform for simple fun games. Let's target the non-gamer, the family, in the same way the Wii captured, right? And hasn't really been served since.
it was
This
And
super
is
successful.
that's a
This
noble
long-
goal.
It is, but it won't work. Do you
Yeah.
have seen
No.
those plug and play arcade things?
Which
That's what this is.
There has been an Intellivision plug and play.
Oh,
Of course
this is
it
what he
was.
wants
It
to
was an
make.
Intellivision controller that plugged in.
He wants to make plug and play. Oh my god.
Basically,
Tell me,
but
no.
it's gonna emulate a bunch of the old, but then also be a thing that will launch with I don't know. It sounds very similar to the Atari VCS, but the Atari VCS goes on pre-sale through GoFundMe tomorrow, and nobody knows what it is yet. So
Oh my
I
God.
don't know. This seems like Tommy Tallarico. He's been around for a long time, and not just
The VGL stuff has made him super current
yeah,
too. He's
and not
never
just
stopped.
that, but
Yeah.
he was doing review stuff with Electric Playground, Reviews on the Run from the 90s, and he did a lot of video game composing music for games, and
Yeah.
he's been around. And so reading this article, he's very seems very honest about no, we're not gonna compete with the modern console. We know what we're targeting. We have no details yet, right? We don't
You're
have
so
a release date.
optimistic about this. It
It's
is.
not that I'm optimistic. It's that I appreciate the honesty in that, like, here's a dude who's just being very earnest about what he wants this to be. And I'm like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
probably not going to work. I'm realistic, but like, hey, good on you, man. This is a cool thing to try.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Whatever. Tommy can do whatever he wants, man. He has a
Yeah.
lot of money.
It's
He's-
fucking cool.
And
On
for those that don't know, Tommy Tallarico is the person who wrote the soundtrack for Earthworm Jim. And
Yes.
that's what I know him most
and
as.
fuck, he also did there was that game written by Orson Scott Card that he did the music to. Advent
I
Rise.
don't know. Oh yeah.
He did it MDK as well.
Mm-hmm.
Time Crisis, Metroid Prime.
Yep.
One thing
he did
that's
a
really
lot of
fun,
stuff.
fun Tommy Tallarico fun fact and reviews on the run, which is graded on a 10-point scale with half points. Victor Lucas used the half-point scale 1 to 10. Tommy Tallarico would score a game like 6.2. 5.7. Like, what the, like, all right. And always complained about footstep sounds. There only ever being one footstep sound for surfaces.
And so the last news article we have, or the second to last, is people are still watching nothing. A lot of people. It's weird. I don't get it. It's like they're so worried about missing something that they have to watch it by the minute to make sure that they don't miss it. Like,
Is the bobblehead still sleeping?
Yes. Okay. So Bethesda put out a tweet, I think, first, and now they have
teasing
this.
Fallout something.
And now they have this Twitch stream that was just a bobblehead in front of a projector that said, "Please stand by." And I think over the course of like 5 hours that it's been up, or 6 hours, I don't even know.
Yeah, there was like a peak of like nearly 200,000 people at one point watching
And
two bobbleheads in front of like a test pattern from Fallout and their Pip-Boy bobbleheads.
currently 54,000 watching him sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the only thing that's changed is now the lights are off and Pip-Boy's tucked into a blanket and sleeping.
And there's still 53,000 people watching. I don't understand. It's
literally
madness.
nothing. They meant this happened while they were in the middle of recording the bombcast over at Giant Bomb.
Mhm.
So they brought it up and like this is just what marketing looks like these days. Like you don't fucking
This is
run
serious, weird thing.
you don't run a TV ad campaign. You don't necessarily pay for huge preview coverage with game magazines or game sites. You put up a goddamn Twitch stream of a test pattern and some bobbleheads and let 200,000 people watch it at once
Just wonder
and
what
freak
it means.
themselves out
Mhm.
over what Fallout this means. Which, by the way, according to Scuttlebutt, this is a new Fallout
Scuttlebutt,
game.
yeah.
This isn't like a remaster of 3 or whatever. This
Mhm.
is a new Fallout game. It's not Fallout 5. It's something different. So Scuttlebutt on the street is like tactics,
Fallout
maybe.
Shelter 2.
It's
Fallout Shelter Tactics.
Sorry, Fallout Shelter New Vegas.
Yeah, that's it. They're gonna let Obsidian Studio. Who is it? Obsidian, right?
Yeah.
They made the other one. Obsidian Rock Studio. I forget the name of who made Obsidian Entertainment.
Yeah.
The real
Yeah.
like the real thing about this is that like the only problem with this type of like play to the crowd hype generation is that like when this isn't Fallout 5 or a remaster of like New Vegas or whatever that people are expecting it to be, they're going to be very disappointed. I hope. Because God knows there are people out there seeing this like, oh my God, guys, Fallout 5, New Vegas remastered, like New Vegas 2. Like it's probably not going to be that, but like
Yeah.
also you wouldn't do this for like a Fallout 3 remaster, would you? You just announced that, right? Like I'm
Maybe
not crazy in thinking that.
Skyrim comes to Fallout.
Yeah, what if it's a
You
complete
can now
psych out and it's
play-
an Elder Scrolls announcement?
No, more likely it is you can play Skyrim in Fallout 4 now.
Oh God, on a terminal.
Yeah. We couldn't figure
It's
out
one of
where to
those
port it.
cartridges, plug it into your Pip-Boy.
Yeah, we ported
playing-
Skyrim to your Pip-Boy.
Instead of playing Donkey Kong, it's fucking Skyrim.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh my
And this
God.
is like if I had to guess, this might be like either an old school, like build engine style Fallout RPG, which seems maybe a little out there, but who knows? Or like a Fallout Tactics, maybe. Like
Maybe something.
fucking I don't know. I'm watching a bobblehead sleep. Like what do I know? What do I know?
So yeah, so unfortunately we only have one news story left, and it's sad. So last week, we had released the sad news after our last podcast, or 2 podcasts ago. I'm not 100% sure that TotalBiscuit had actually been put into. He was taking off his care and his medication, and so that he was going into hospice, I guess, or
end of life care.
End of life care. And then very quickly from that moment, he actually passed away last week, which is really sucks because a lot of people, I think it took him by surprise, because a lot of people, when you hear you're going to go into that, it's, you have a couple months, but it's just, this happened so quickly,
I mean, like, he's been fighting the cancer for 4 years, but even still, like, the news feels very sudden.
Yeah,
I don't think,
because he's been he was so active for so long.
Right. I don't think people were ready for it, ever ready for it.
No. You're never ready for something like this.
But his wife wrote a beautiful poem on Twitter that I believe that was really well received. I think it was really sweet. But reading her previous post just like a couple days before that was posted was like pretty heart-wrenching, because she was all talking about future and all these things that they were going to do like next week, and oh, he's not feeling so great today, and it's like, oh, it was really hard to read some of those. And I was not a huge TotalBiscuit fan, like follower. I know he'd been around for a long time, but like just seeing his impact across the entire internet, like every game or streamer or whatever I was watching, it was impacted everywhere, so it was amazing to see how much he was involved in the industry and involved in the games field.
And like I didn't follow a lot of his game critique stuff. I followed him a lot early on in the StarCraft 2 days, because he was super involved in getting that esports scene off the ground. Like, just fuck, man.
Yeah, it was definitely hard news to take, and for me it was just it was hard to see everyone else's reactions to it. I had mentioned earlier, I watch Trump, the StarCraft player who play Hearthstone, and he found out on stream when he passed, and he took it really, really hard, because his stream stopped. He actually broke down and cried for a bit.
They knew it. Really they knew each other. Trump played a lot of StarCraft 2 early on. And he played in a couple of his fucking tournaments, and and he's like, and like TotalBiscuit was everywhere. Even if you didn't necessarily follow him, he showed up everywhere. He had his hands in everything. He kickstarted, literally and figuratively, like so much of modern gaming on the internet and esports culture and convention stuff and podcasting and video creation, creation.
And that I'd run this show was inspired by the way that he did his podcast.
Yep. It fucking sucks, man.
Yeah.
It's really all I have to say about it. Like, that's just, everything about this is awful.
Yeah. I can only hope that, the podcast that he started continues. That was one of his final wishes, I believe, was that his wife...
I think they're having like a memorial episode.
Earlier today, they had a memorial episode. I was at work, so I missed it, but...
I'll watch that at some point. I don't know if I want to do that right now.
Not right now.
Right, it's pretty heavy. Yeah. So, it's too bad, and I feel bad ending on a sour note, but I feel like it's important when these big industry events happen to just talk about it.
Yep, and he's hugely influential on what the modern internet gaming landscape looks like right now.
Right. So that was our podcast. Thank you for joining. New people who came by to tell us what we look like. Thank you for your opinions.
I wish I had LeBron James's hairline. His is coming back because he's got the money to do that.
I also appreciate looking like Jesse Heineman, or possibly the other one, which I can't remember his name.
Adam Savage?
Adam Savage. One of those, or a combination of the two. I appreciate both compliments. It's pretty great. So yeah. And next week will be Tuesday when we meet at hopefully 9. It's getting a little later randomly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we usually talk about random game stuff, game news, whatever. And yeah, so next week we'll be back, and that'll be FUNCAST episode 12, where I'll have part 2 of my 1,000-part series, and hopefully Discount will finish Pillars of Eternity 2. And,
I've read some stuff that makes me realize I'm a lot closer to the end of the game than I thought I was.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. All right, so thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Mr. Android. Check out my Twitter, I guess. I don't know.
Go to FUNGINEERS.net.
Yeah,
I think all
FUNGINEERS.net.
that's up there now.
Check out FUNGINEERS.net. There you go.
All right. See you next week.
See you
All right,
next week.
see ya.
Bye, Internet.